How are you?
Good, good.
Oh, fine. Yeah, Zubair, today we are going to have the demo class for the Java training. Uh, so basically, before that, I would like to know about you. Can you tell me about you, with respect to Java? Do you have any basic knowledge? So because this is going to be kind of a one-to-one session, if I know how much you know in Java or how far are you in, so that we can plan accordingly. If needed, we can speed up the training session. Otherwise, we can go as planned. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I don't, I have no idea about Java. I've never worked in Java before, but my background is with SQL and SAP, and I am from the BI side, business intelligence side. So
Mm-hmm.
I've really never really programmed in Java before.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you know any other programming languages? Have you had any idea of that, like before in your
No,
previous
not really. I
experiences?
mean, previously in college, I must have taken C, but that was like 15 years ago. So
Hmm.
I don't really have
Okay.
any idea of any other than SQL. I don't have any programming languages.
Okay. Fine. So, okay, no issues. We can go ahead and start. So, I got to know from Dheeraj that you were looking for practical sessions. Okay. So,
Yeah, so currently I work in healthcare, and
mhm.
right now what they're trying to do is they're trying to build web apps using web services and APIs, and I believe it requires JavaScript and Java knowledge. So I would like to touch, on Java and JavaScript. Um, I mean, here's a question for you: is JavaScript related to Java? Is it like a sub language of Java or?
Yeah, yes, you're right. So Java, as said, is very vast because when you said JavaScript, yeah, it is a part of Java. Core Java is the actual Java that you need to know, because core Java is the basic knowledge of how Java works and how do you create a class, what is an object, and covering all the OOPS concept and few other concepts that are covered in core Java. And JavaScript, as you said, is a script. Okay, and there are many other technologies which they call J2E, which includes the EJBs, the servlets, and all those things. Apart from that, there are also web services, as you said. So Java is very vast. So based on your requirement, probably we can concentrate more on. I'll give you fair knowledge of all of these, whatever I told you. You probably would have got the training curriculum, right? So we'll be
Yes.
covering all the topics. But if you would like to have more details on any particular topic, you can tell me. Probably we can spend more time on that, doing so many practical classes on that and having many training sessions on that. But as I told you, Java is very vast. When you see the training curriculum, it tries to cover whole of the Java concepts. Okay. I
Okay.
said core Java is the one that you need to know thoroughly, because that is the basic. Okay. So when you know core
Okay.
Java, you can learn the other things. Okay, and
Okay.
there are
Okay.
also few other frameworks covered in the curriculum, like Spring, Struts, Hibernate. Yeah, I'll give you definitions on those, and I'll also show you what a working example on that.
Yeah.
So,
So when you start, I guess if when we excuse me, when we start with the training, maybe we can start from the basics and go into more core Java, and then kind of when doing practicals we can take like JavaScript as to and relate it to
yeah.
my requirement, what I'm trying to get out of this training with my work
Hmm.
life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah. Yeah. So, just give me 2 minutes. I'm trying to share my screen, but I think
Sure.
I'll have to download an extension. Okay. So I think you can see my screen right now. I'm sharing a presentation.
Yes, I can.
Okay. Unlike other Java training sessions, this training session that I will be conducting will not be like a simple presentation. So what we'll try to do is daily we'll try to cover few topics. Okay, based on that topic, I am planning to give you few what kind of an exercise. So will you have some time on daily basis to work on that, and we'll discuss about it the next day. So will you have time on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I prefer more hands-on training rather than just reading and, trying to memorize stuff. I believe when you learn a programming language, you should be practicing, and that's the only way
Yeah.
you will learn.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You got that. So, probably I'll try to split up an hour like this. As you see, 15 minutes for exercise review. Like today we'll not have anything, but going on, daily we'll be having sessions and topics covered, and probably I'll give you few work on that so that you can simply do some practical examples or Google and read more on that. Because as I told you, Java is very vast. I can try to cover and give you an explanation of what it is, but there might be so many things going around on that. Okay, so
Right.
if you need, you can either Google, and there will also be a few practical examples that you'll have to work out on. Okay, so we'll take 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes for yesterday's review. So whatever work you have done, like whatever practical code that you have written, next day we'll review that. If you have any doubts on that or any questions, or if it did not work out properly, or if it is completed, anything is fine. So first 15 minutes we'll spend on what we did yesterday. Okay,
Okay.
the next 40 minutes will be the topic that we are going to cover for that day. Okay, so I'll explain you what it is and all those things with examples, and lastly we'll wind up with any doubts or questions that you might have of that day's session.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how I'm planning to do that. Okay.
Okay. And we will do
uh,
this Monday through Friday?
yeah, anything is fine with me. So when it is your yeah, that should be fine. When it is your Friday, it will be my Saturday morning, right?
Right, 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 right.
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let me tell about myself. I was working in a IT company. I was particularly working on only Java development projects. Okay, so I have hands-on experience, and I have worked on many projects, like all the curriculum that you see here, right? So I have handled many projects, and I had a team. We also had training sessions for our team members where I used to train, because we are working on a real-time project. I'll have to give them some practical examples, right? So as we
Mhm.
train, we give them work. Okay,
Okay.
so they try to complete the work, and that is how they have a real experience of how a work is in Java. Instead of just telling them what Java is, this is how it works,
Right.
that is how it works, but we give them a real time. We just give the basic of a requirement to them to have it completed, and give them some ample of time to get it completed. Okay, so
Okay.
that is how we train the new associates whoever joins our team. So that's why I told you when we are going to learn Java, I'll be giving you more of a practical example, because unlike other
Okay.
training where we have only theory and speaking only about the theory, no, we'll be working on it actually.
Okay.
Okay, so coming to Java. So what is Java? Java is a programming language like any other language, C, C++. Okay,
Hmm.
so it is an object-oriented programming language. We'll come to objects later. They call Java a platform independent. It can run on any OS, if you know. It can run on Windows, it can run on Linux, Mac OS, anything. Why they call it like that is when you write a Java class. For example, you write a file, you write your code, you write your logic, and then you save it as .java file. That is how we save it in Java. Okay. Once you save it, what we do, we compile the code. Okay. When we compile the code, it becomes .class file. For example, we wrote a file, we named it myfile.java. Now we compiled it and it has become myfile.class. So now this class file is nothing but a bytecode. Okay, so Java has a JVM, what they call as Java Virtual Machine. Okay, this JVM is different for each OS. For Windows, it is different. For Linux, it is different. So what happens? Our bytecode runs on the JVM. Okay, so on any JVM, our bytecode can run. So what JVM does is it converts it to the into machine code and sends it to the OS. So that is how the processing happens. So JVM is the reason we say that Java is platform independent. So based on each OS, we have different JVMs, and our bytecode, that is the .class file, whatever I told you, once compiled, we get the .class file, right? That file is run on each of the JVM based on any OS. So we can write it once. I write a file here on my Windows machine. Okay, and then I can run it on
Okay.
Linux because JVM is going to execute my code. Okay, I have a JVM here on my Windows running. I'll also have a JVM, another JVM running on Linux. So it is not difficult for me. I don't have to rewrite the code anywhere. I can use the same code because JVM is going to take care of all those things. That is why they call Java platform independent. Okay.
Okay. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Is JVM, is that the thing that we download from Oracle when we have?
Yeah, yeah, there
Okay.
are so many things that we will be downloading from Oracle. I have a separate presentation for that. Okay, I'll show you there.
Okay.
Probably you'll have more idea. Okay,
Okay.
so as I said, the third point says it can be executed on Windows or Linux or any of the OS. And the fourth point says it, yeah, as you know, Java can be a desktop application or a web application or an enterprise application, mobile application as such. Java can take multiple forms and it is fast, very easy to
Archana,
understand as well.
sorry to interrupt, but if you are on different slide, I'm only seeing your first slide.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Uh, okay, but let's see. Okay. Now, do you see my second slide? What is Java?
No, I only see daily training schedule.
Uh-huh. Hold on. Let us do. Now,
Yes.
okay. You see it now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
When
Thank
I
you.
think when I started slideshow, probably it is not taking it up. No issues.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. So this is what we were talking about. So here you see it is a programming language. It is platform independent. It can be executed on Windows, Linux, and it can take multiple forms. Like it can be a desktop application or a mobile application or anything. And it is an object-oriented programming language. So everything in Java is an object. Whatever you see, if you have a requirement, you can consider it to be an object. So what you basically need to know is if you want to develop an application, first you have to identify the objects in that. That is what we need to do. So as we go on, as we move on with the training, you'll get the knowledge of what it is. Moving on to the
Okay.
next slide. Okay. So OOPS here. OOPS is nothing but object-oriented programming system. So do you have any idea of what OOPS is?
No.
Okay. Okay, let me tell you. So anything like, for example, the room where you're sitting, whatever you see, you can consider it as an object. For example, a fan that you have, an AC that you have, or your laptop or your chair, anything is an object because object has what? It can have a behavior, okay? It can have its own quality. So any real-time object, even if I say this laptop is also an object because this laptop has a screen, it has keyboard, and it runs on power. These are all the qualities of this object, particularly this laptop. And what all it does, what you can do in this laptop, you can work on this laptop, you can listen to music here, you can watch a movie. So these are all the behaviors that the laptop can show us, right? So in real world, anything that you identify is an object. First you have to split up each of the objects that you might need for an application. So here when you see objects, yeah, as I've written here, it is a real-time entity with a state and behavior. State is nothing but its quality. Behavior is the behavior that it says. So we, in Java terms, we call state as variables and behavior as method. So once I write a class for you, probably you'll have more idea of what an object is. Okay. For example, let us say we have a person. Okay, a person
Hmm.
who is going to join a college. Okay, so here our student, well, let us call him a student. A student is an object. So now what can a student have? He can have a name, he can have a roll number, and he can have a department in which he's going to study. Okay, so these are all state of the student, right?
Okay.
So the behavior is what? How he is going to study? Is he going to do a theoretical study? Is he going to do a practical study? So all those things, how he does that, or how he is going to come to college? Okay. So the method, how it happens. Okay.
Okay.
That we call as behavior. Okay. Now, that is a simple example that I could say you for an object. Probably when we jump into real time, no,
Right.
in further classes, I'll write down actually how when I say a state, that is a variable. How is a variable? Okay. And when I say a method or a behavior, I'll write down a method for you. I'll open my the software where we write the code, and I can show you how it happens. Okay,
Okay.
so because today it is going to be a demo class, I'm just giving you an overview because on the first day, if
Right.
I'm going
Right.
to put so many things in your head, no, you might get a little
Yeah.
confused. So just we'll go step by step. First, OOPS is the basic concept for Java, which you have to understand. Okay, so let us say we are going to build a application for booking tickets. Okay, we have a
Okay.
theater, many screens in that, and we are going to launch an application in which a person can book tickets. Okay, so
Okay.
now having said this application, I can tell you the objects of this. If we can identify the objects, what all will be the objects? A theater itself is an object because a theater has many screens. It has few systems like a booking system, a cleaning system, and a vending system as well. Okay, and inside a theater we have so many screens. So again, inside each of the area we have a screen, we have so many chairs, and we have lightings and other whatever could be present inside a screen. Okay, and other than that, what else we have? We have uh, what do we call them? Okay, we have people who are going to book the tickets. So this should also be considered as an object, like a person who is going to book the ticket. Okay,
Right.
so considering an application, you can just think of what all functionality can be achieved in through that. So when you achieve each of the functionality, you have to identify each of the objects like this. So when you see a theater, we see it as a whole system, but inside that we have different screens. So that is again an object. There should be a person who is going to come and watch the movies or whatever. So we ourselves, we are going to be again another object. So
Right.
when you think beyond, you might be getting so many objects. So each of the object that you identify for this application will serve. Okay. So
Okay.
when I say object, okay, uh, that is a real-time entity. Okay. But how do we create an object in Java? We create an object using a class. Here you see the next one, class.
Okay.
Okay, class is nothing but a template. Okay, so it is you can imagine it to be a skeleton. Like in a previous example, I told you there is a student, okay, who wants to enroll himself in a college. So he is student A. There could also be student B. Okay, so I should have a template in which I say if a student comes, he should have a roll number, he should have a name, and he should have a department to which he belongs. Okay, so these three items I need from a student. Okay, so I have a template. This is what a student needs. Okay, so when
Okay.
student A comes, he becomes the object. That is the real time entity. Okay, so now the
Okay.
student will have a name, a roll number, and a department. Now another student comes, student B. He will also use the same template, but he will be a new object. He is a new student. Who is student B? He will also have the same three characters. So this is what a class is. So class is nothing but just a template. You can consider it to be a blueprint. Using that, we'll be creating real-time objects. So you can have any number of objects for a class. Okay, so if there are 10 students, you'll have 10 objects, but 10 of them will be using the same skeleton.
Right.
Okay. So this is what I would say about a class. So basically, this is the OOPS concept that we need to understand very clearly because this is very important for us to move on. Okay, as I told you, a class has variables and method implementation. Variable is nothing but the state, and method implementation is the behavior.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So moving on to these concepts. So if you see in my previous slide, I have written 4 concepts. There are few other OOPS concepts as well, but we will try to cover these 4, which are very basic and which are very important for us to do the coding. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
moving on to that. Okay. So for example, in our theater example, see, we had different screens. Okay. So let us consider we have a screen. I'll call it a theater itself. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
in that, what do we have? We Let us say we are writing a parent class. Okay. So in that, we are going to have a screen. Okay, and then we are going to have furnitures, and then we are going to have lightings. Okay,
Right.
so okay, this is the master that we have. This is the parent. Okay, so there are 3 screens. Huh? So in one screen, what we're going to do is we're going to show a movie. Okay, when we want to
Mm-hmm.
show a movie, this screen is also going to have the same characters as the parent. Like it is going to have a screen, it is going to have many chairs and the lightings. Okay, and at the same time, we are also going, no, not at the same time, but at a different time, we're going to do a magic show as well. Okay, now what happens? We don't have a screen. We don't need a screen for a magic show. Instead, we need a stage,
Right.
right? Right. So this is what we call as inheritance. So initially, what I told you, the parent class, a parent class had a screen, okay, and then furnitures and chairs. Now I'm creating another class which is specifically for a magic show. Okay, a magic show will also be a room, okay, similar to that theater. So it can inherit the property of the parent of having the furniture and the lighting, but it will not have screen, it will have a stage. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so this is what we can inherit from the parent class. So as you see, the inheritance says that this child inherits the properties from the parent class. Okay, and
Okay.
what the next point says is it makes the code reusable. We don't have to repeat the same code again. Okay, in real
Okay.
time, I can give you a few more examples when we have our code ready. Okay,
Right.
fine. And coming to abstraction, um, yeah, fine. So a person is coming to watch a movie. So what he does, he only says the timing. I want to watch a movie at 9 o'clock. That's all. He doesn't know what happens after that. He says that he wants to watch at 9 o'clock, and then he comes at 9 o'clock and he watches the movie. So the user is given the information of what time he wants to watch and what movie does he want to watch. But behind that, what happens at 9 o'clock? How is that movie telecasted? The system, it has its own schedule of telecasting the movie. So it happens internally within the theater system. Okay, but what
Mm-hmm.
the user knows, he only knows that I booked a ticket at 9 o'clock. I'm going to watch that movie. He goes at 9 and he watches the movie. But internally, what happens, he does not know. Right. So this is what they call as abstraction. Show only the required data. That is, you get only the data what you need from him. Don't show him what is happening behind that. Okay.
Okay.
And another example that flows on internet as well for this abstraction is driving a car. Okay. You have a power steering. You turn on the car, you change the gear, and you drive it. That's all. You don't know what is happening behind. How is it operated? What happens when you turn the steering? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
you know that this is how you have to ride the car, but internally you might know, but we don't have to know that actually. Okay. If you are more interested and if you want to know, yeah, you can do that. But then it is not required. The basic instruction that is given is you can drive a car this way, step 1, step 2, step 3. If you do this, you can drive the car. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another example. There are so many other examples in internet as well for this abstraction. Okay,
Okay.
so that is what it says. You show only the required data and hide unrequired data, and you provide the user only with the functionality, and you hide the implementation logic and encapsulation. So this is nothing but the class that I was talking about. So for example, we had a theater in which we have the data variables, which are the screen, the furnitures, the lights, all those things, and the method. How is a screen operated? What happens when during the start of the movie, or what happens during an interval? So all those things. What happens when the movie ends, like the cleaning process or whatever is going on. So these are
Mm-hmm.
all the different things that can happen inside a theater. Okay, so this is encapsulation. What we are doing is we are giving it few variables. Okay, and then we also have defined how these variables work. Those are nothing but the methods. Okay, so what we are doing, we are encapsulating all of it, okay, in one place. We defined all the functionalities, we defined all the variables that might be needed, like inside a theater, what all variables I told you, all those
Mm-hmm.
variables, and what can happen inside a theater. These are all the methods. So what we are doing, we are holding all of it together. So this forms a class, one single class called theater. This is called
Okay.
encapsulation. Okay, next moving on to polymorphism. So as the name says, it can take many forms, polymorphism. For example, say we have only one screen now. Okay, so that one screen at 9 o'clock we're going to show a movie. At 12 o'clock we're going to show a magical show. Evening we're going to show a puppet show. Anything like that. So the one screen, one theater or one room can take multiple forms based on the time. If you are booked for 9 o'clock movie, you can come and watch the movie. If it is in the afternoon, you can come and watch the magical show. Okay, what happens, what difference happens inside the theater is nothing but this stage. As of now, it's going to be a screen or it's going to be a stage, or we are going to change the ambience based on the magic show or the puppet show or whatever it is. So it can take
Right.
any form. So that is called polymorphism. Okay,
Okay.
so performing the same task in many way, and it is the ability of a variable or a function or an object to take multiple forms. Okay, so these are the basic four concepts that we have to understand with respect to OOPS.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, okay, fine. So this is another topic that we'll be moving on. Do you have any questions on our previous topic? Uh, Probably, what I would say is take some time if you are very new to all these concepts that I have told you. Okay, but this basic thing is very important to understand Java.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have any questions right now.
Uh-huh. Okay, fine. So moving on to this. So you were asking me that is
My
JVM something we develop from Oracle? Yeah,
yeah.
we download from Oracle. Yeah, we do. So let us start with an example like this. I'll tell you. Here you see what I do is I write a code. I save the file as myfile.java. Okay, so this is a plain file. You can even rename it to .txt or anything. So it is not going to be nothing but ABC. I would say no
Okay.
other bytecode or machine code. It is the code that we are going to write. Okay, in normal English language. Okay, so that is this is that file. So when you compile it, compile the code to get the bytecode. So I compile this file. Okay, when I compile it, it becomes my file.class. Okay, so this
How do you
class file.
compile it?
Yeah, there are steps to do that. In the
Okay.
command prompt, you have to run Java C space and give the file name. Okay,
Okay.
so I can show you all those things. If we are going to
Okay.
do it in command prompt, that is how we'll be doing it. Otherwise, we can use the IDE, integrated development environment. Like you must have seen Eclipse or NetBeans or even
Yeah,
um,
I've heard of Eclipse. Yeah.
yeah. So we will be using Eclipse for this project,
Okay.
for this training. Okay, so in Eclipse, if we are going to do, we don't have to do anything. We just have to, we do have shortcuts. As you know, only in command prompt, we'll have to type in all the commands. But when you use an IDE, it is very easy. You can simply do a shortcut and right click and say compile. Yeah, it compiles and gives you the class file. That's very
Okay.
easy. Okay. So that is one another step in which we compile the file and it becomes a class file. Okay, now if you see JVM, this is the Java virtual machine. Okay, fine. So as you see, we have a JVM, we have a JRE, we have a JDK. Okay, what we will be doing now is we'll use the JDK for our training purpose. JDK is nothing but Java Development Kit. It is a fully featured software development kit for Java, including JRE, that is this one, and the compilers used to create and compile the program. See, if you have a ready-made code which you only have to run, You don't have to do any development on that. Then only JRE is enough for you. Okay,
Okay.
but if you are going to do the development, you need to develop the code, you have to debug it, you have to compile it, it is a ongoing process, right? So in that case we need a JDK, in which JDK covers everything. It has a JRE, it has a JVM. If you that is how that is why I have given this kind of presentation for that. JDK covers both of these. It has the JRE and it has the JVM. So if we download the JDK, we can develop, we can compile, we can run. That is, we can execute. Okay, so having only JRE, what happens? We have the code ready, we only have to run it on a machine. In that case, it is enough if you only have the JRE, because JRE itself has the JVM. JRE provides the
Okay.
runtime environment for the bytecode. Okay, this is the bytecode that we have. It contains a set of libraries and files used during runtime. At this time, I would say that just read it as such. It contains the libraries, what files. If you have, there are so many things that we'll have to talk about on that. So it has few files which are needed to run the execute the bytecode. Okay,
Okay.
so that is JRE. JVM is the one, okay, that interprets the compiled binary code. Okay,
Okay.
so okay, so this is what I would like to tell you. Right now, we need the JDK to do the development. If we have the code ready, in future perspective, you only have to run the code, then JRE is enough. But real time, as a developer, we always need the JDK only.
Okay.
Okay. If you have the code ready and if you're going to run it somewhere, then JRE is enough. But as a developer, we need JDK. So what we will do is we'll download and install the JDK in our systems, and we'll download and install Eclipse, and we need a server. Okay, and for a server, I would suggest you to download Tomcat, Apache Tomcat. So all of
Okay. I
these,
will try
whatever
that.
we are, yeah. So all of these, whatever we are speaking, are freeware softwares. We do have paid version, licensed versions of each of these softwares. Okay, so on a real time, if you're going to handle a bigger project, okay, for your customers, then you will need to have uh, the other tools. There are IBM products, okay,
Okay.
uh, uh, RAD they call it, Rational Application Developer, and servers as well. There are so many application servers. Okay, so there are a number of options that you have for Java. It is based on your requirement, and otherwise your knowledge, your working knowledge of what you have used, you can select of all of those. Because for this training purpose, we will be using the freeware softwares like the Eclipse and the Tomcat, which is very sufficient to learn Java and even to do projects, I would say, because we have also done few projects using Eclipse and Tomcat, which are running really good. Unless it needs so many users and it has so many data requests, in that case, yeah, we'll have to move on to other enterprise servers. Okay,
Okay.
so right now it is enough for us to have Eclipse and Tomcat. What I will do is I'll share with you there are so many versions of Eclipse. Okay, based on the version of Java. You know, Java has also many versions like 1.6, 1.7. So
Right.
there are Eclipse based on that, and Tomcat as well, which supports the relevant version of Java. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll give you the details, the download links of where you can get all these details from.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
when we are developing, when we are writing Java code, how do we know what version? Like you said, Java has different versions. What version are we working with? Are there like significant language difference or code differences between the versions?
yeah, yeah, it does have. So as you know, any software that is evolving with new version, it definitely has added feature, right?
Okay.
So as we move on to higher versions of Java, yes, we have a few advantages of using the newer versions, which closes the gaps that there might be any in the previous versions. And one other thing that you have to think upon is sometimes uh, are you having enough support for the newer version of Java? Okay, For example, okay, so initially, if you are going to start building right now, you can choose the best version, probably the latest version, or I would
Mhm.
always choose to take the version before that, because if there are any bugs or anything, it would have been fixed in
Right,
the previous version, rather than the taking the latest version and what banging
right,
our head on why it is not working, why it is not working. So personally, that is how I prefer to working with Java. So if, as I
okay,
told you, if it is going to be a new requirement, this is how you can choose. If you're having
okay,
a old application which is running, for example, on Java 1.6, okay, now you want to upgrade it to Java 1.7. So in that case, there are various factors that you need to consider, because it might already be running on a Windows machine or a Linux machine. When you change the next version of Java, it might also require an OS upgrade or a server upgrade. It might be running on a WebSphere server. So WebSphere servers are also dependent on these kind of Java versions. So WebSphere server 6 or 7 can support only Java 6 or 7. So if you're going to upgrade, you'll have to consider all the other factors like upgrading the server on which it is running. Because Java, when I say upgrading Java, you are only upgrading your code. Your code has to run somewhere on a server.
right,
Okay, internet, servers. Okay, so all of these are interlinked. So once if you want to upgrade the application, you'll have to think of all those components on a real in a real-time environment. When we are working with the customer, we will have to speak with them as well to get all of these upgraded, because it is not like WebSphere. Basically, it goes with IBM. IBM takes care of those. Okay, it is an IBM
hmm,
server. As I said, when on a real-time environment, we'll use a what an enterprise server, really good servers. Okay, so in that case, IBM does the support. So we'll have to speak with that vendor to get it upgraded. Again, if it is a Windows or a Linux machine, we'll have to get the help from them. And apart from that, we'll have to get the help from the customer as well for all of these. So this is
okay,
a real time scenario that I'm telling you. But otherwise, if it is your personal machine, if you are only working on it, there is no issue. You can simply upgrade Java and you can download the server from the internet. You're done.
okay.
You see the difference, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Same thing like
So
when I implement SAP BI, I have to make sure it's compatible with the Windows Server or wherever we're working with, and do the upgrades and all
right,
that stuff.
right, right. Exactly, exactly. So that is the same case, yeah. As you know, it is the same case with any IT work we do.
Right,
It is dependent.
right.
Again, everything is interconnected, right? It depends on the
Right.
other somehow. Yeah,
Do you
right.
have any exposure to SAP Business Objects and BI and stuff?
No, no,
Okay,
not ASAP.
so you're strictly a programmer.
Yeah, yes. I
Okay,
have been a developer all through till now.
okay,
Working on, as I told you, Java is very vast, right? So there would be new frameworks coming in, or there will be web services. So based on that, I had opportunities to develop myself in Java as a developer and as a I lead a team. Actually, I led a team. Okay, right now I'm not working.
okay,
I'm on a break now. So
okay,
I used to lead a team where I take care of the design and development of the projects.
okay.
That is the whole what the life cycle of a project, the SDLC of it.
Right, right, right.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah,
this is what I have done.
do you have any example you can show me that you have built or something? Is there something you can show
Uh,
me?
yeah, probably what we can do is the other way I would answer that is as we learn, I'm going to give you practical examples. Like it's going to be simple and that you can understand as a beginner with that, because the code that I have developed is with the company.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay.
So
Yeah,
I don't have anything on my personal laptop because we work in a private network where we don't have access to our emails as well, where we do only our work and we are
right, right.
provided with a different email ID. So that is how it is. So that code, obviously, if I'm going to bring it here, no, at this stage, it's going to be very big for you. Okay.
Right, right, right.
So
So
yeah.
anything that we develop in Java, does it have to have a web server like Tomcat and stuff? Java
Yeah,
cannot function without a web server?
It can do if it is a simple application which requires only few functionalities. Yeah, yeah. As I told you, we need a server to launch an application. Okay, when we are
Okay.
when you are going to package it into a WAR file. Okay, so
Okay.
that WAR file has to run somewhere, or they even call it as an EAR file. So based on what application you are going to build and what Java components you're going to use in it. Okay.
Okay.
So it is enough. JDK is simply enough for you if you simply run a Hello World program. You don't need a server for that. Okay. When you're going to extend the functionality and build it into a WAR file, yes, you definitely need to run the WAR file inside a server, which is a Tomcat server right now for a WAR file. WAR is nothing but a web
Right.
archive file. Dot .war
Okay.
they call it. Okay. You can simply rename it to zip as well. Dot .zip, and you can expand it to see what are all the files inside that. So if you see again, it is
Yeah,
going to be
but
all dot class
when
dot
we
class dot class.
when we deploy SAP Business Objects, it deploys all the web applications as WAR files. So I've seen that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. So what is nothing but see, simply I would say you have a file, a set of files. When you compress it, it occupies less space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what happens in a WAR file. So you build the class file, you export only the class files. So that is nothing but a WAR. When you have the whole project, you have the supporting library, so many things when you do the development. But real time when it has to run, it is enough to have only the required files. Okay,
Right.
and you compress. Okay, so that is what they
Right.
call a WAR file, and that is what they export to the server. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So today for the demo, this is what I have planned. Mm.
It's very, very good. I'm really impressed with your knowledge.
Thank you. I'm happy.
I think we tried a trainer before and then I kind of didn't like, and so Dheeraj said, I have another great trainer, and
Hmm.
I'm glad he picked you because I'm really, really impressed with your presentation and your knowledge. And I hope that, I really learned from you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what even I'm happy with that. I'm happy to share my knowledge to do a proper training session. And definitely, I need your involvement, a good kind of involvement where you can put some time on that, do your own learning because I can teach you Java. It is your own involvement that is needed to explore and learn more.
Right, exactly. No, I'm willing to do whatever it takes because it's just that right now I'm so busy with work. I travel sometimes and I have a travel coming up April 16th, which
Mm-hmm.
will require for some knowledge of like JavaScript. So I was trying to rush. I was trying to tell Dheeraj, can you please rush
Mm-hmm.
it and get me somebody as soon as possible. So I think we should be okay now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell me, Archana?
No, that's it. Probably if you have some time, just read what OOPS is,
Okay.
object-oriented programming. What is an object? And as I told you, there might be millions of examples on internet for Java. Because when you want to learn Java, you get lot of resources on the internet. But real time, probably you need a starting point
Right.
where someone can tell you this is what you need and this is how you do. And then
Correct.
you'll have to simply catch up and climb the ladder.
Right. You're right.
Yeah. So your homework is also very much needed for us to complete the session on time and
Okay.
progress.
Okay. Will do. I will try my best. It's
Yeah,
only better for me. It's only good for me.
yeah,
So I will
true.
try my best.
Yeah, okay. So
Thank you
that's
so
it
much,
from my
Archana.
side.
I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah,
And I will talk to
thank you.
Dheeraj and I will let him know.
Yeah, sure. We'll do that. Yeah, see
Okay.
you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye
Have a good
bye.
day.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.